Dad also bought the speakers for the police department and fire department in East Peoria. Dad had a fire truck that we used to have a ball going up and down Fond du Lac Drive on, and then Dad donated that to the Lung Association. Dad would have a squad car in front of him and behind him going and coming from work, as we did going and coming from school. I'll never forget one time he had high rollers coming in from Chicago and St. Louis. They were there the week before and they lost pretty heavy. Dad went to the pastor of our parish. He said, "Father, last week when you blessed the dice, the house won. This week they're coming back and I'm a little bit leery about it. Could you bless them again?" The priest told Dad, "Only if I can get a cut." Dad got out of the gambling in the late 50s. My Uncle George and his lady friend, who I am very close to, Donna Johnson, who I love very much, opened it up as the Paradise Wine Rack. They had great lunches and lots of parties. He was a fun uncle, and we loved him very, very much. Dad promised his father, because Uncle George lived in New Jersey, he was my mother's brother, and was getting into some trouble in New Jersey. So my father promised my grandmother and my grandfather that he would keep him under his wing and take care of him. And Dad did for 54 years. Dad used to say, "If you forget the good that people do for you, you are no better than the snake in the grass. That's as low as you can get." The Paradise helped so many poor people in those days. He would say, "You have eyes. If you know someone needs something, you don't wait for them to ask for help. You automatically give it to them. They may be too ashamed to ask." Dad did a lot of good. He did a lot of charity work till the day he died. He never turned his back on anyone. But yet, when he got down on his luck, people turned their back on him, and it's the ones that he helped the most. I think that's what hurts me the most, is I know what my father did. He never wanted anything in return except a thank you and an acknowledgement. He gave with his heart, and he gave wholeheartedly. He never waited for anybody to ask him for a dollar. He saw that they needed it. He paid for funeral expenses for people and gave them blank checks. I'm not saying that my dad was the only one that helped out in those days, but he's the only one that had the big money to help everybody. He also bought the sewer in East Peoria, as they didn't have the money to pay for it. My dad died broke, and we accept that. He couldn't recover from the Shelton gang. The night before he died, my mother and I were sitting at the table with him, and I said, "Dad, help us. What do you have? Where is everything? We don't know anything." Dad would never share anything with my mother or us. It was like he was in his own little world, and he took care of us, and that's the way it was. He looked over at me. You could hardly understand him as he died the next day. He said, "The government, the Sheltons, and the mob." In other words, they got it all. Dad could never recover because the Shelton gang died, and he was left holding the bag. They owed $300,000 for back taxes because of the penalties, the fines, the court costs. Dad fought it, and it beat him. The fines and the penalties added up to over $1 million. Dad had to sell quite a bit, the farm and different places that he had, in order to recoup some of his money to survive on. Dad made big money, he lost big money, and spent big money. Dad wanted to make sure that we had the best lifestyle, which we did. We never wanted for anything. He never denied us anything. The sky was the limit. People forgot the good he did when he was down on his luck. And amazingly enough, it was a lot of the people that he helped. Dad had 5 sisters and 5 children, 4 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandson. My father would be proud of my grandson today, as he's a state scholar and in the upper 10% of all students in the state of Illinois. He's going to college today, and I still have the picture that my dad was leaning over looking at my grandson when he was in his infancy. He said his eyes are bright, God bless him. He's going to be their meal ticket. I have a brother that suffers severely from epilepsy. He was mildly retarded and brain damaged. Dad spent thousands of dollars trying to find a cure for him. His name is Joey. Dad took him to Bergen High School to see if they would accept him there so he could be around his peers. Not sure he would be accepted, Dad wrote a check for 4 years. Father Augustine tore it up. Joey got what they call social promotions and worked with Dad till the day Dad died. Dad still has property we are fighting over, and hopefully that will be resolved. I'm 70 years old today, and I don't need it, but I have a daughter that is very, very sick that could really use the money. She's really hurting bad financially, and I know if Dad was alive, he would take care of her. He would steal and rob to take care of her. He loved his grandchildren and his children with every breath in his body to a fault. He never said no. I took advantage. He allowed me to take advantage. And I love you for that, Dad, because without you, I would have been nothing. I told Joey that Dad tried so hard to find a miracle to cure his seizures. Joey has not had a seizure in 12 years. I told Joey that Dad had to get to heaven in order to perform that miracle for him, because since Dad died, Joey has been clear of seizures. He used to have 15 to 20 petite malls a day, and then it went into the grand malls, and Dad had him all over the world. So, Joey, you have your dad to thank for your seizures to be clear now. Dad went into the real estate business in the late 50s. He called it Associated Realty. Dad did really well with he went into the industrial real estate part of it. He had 5 subdivisions here, and he did really well with that. But after he got into trouble with Uncle Sam, he just couldn't recoup. There were people that came to the Paradise that lost their money. Their wives would come down to the Paradise and say, Joe, he spent our house money, he spent our grocery money. Dad would give them the money back, but he would not allow them to come back in. Dad had somebody at the door making sure that whoever couldn't afford to gamble, they didn't let in. It caused a lot of hard feelings, especially with the Lebanese. Dad, you gave till you couldn't give anymore, especially to me. I love you. I miss you. You are my rock, and I think of you daily. If you were alive today, I wouldn't be in the mess I am. I'm happy and still have my health, thank God. You taught me how to love, how to give, and to be charitable. I do a lot of charity work like you did, Dad. But if you saw your granddaughter Dina today, it would break your heart. She's a very, very sick girl. So I'll pray for her. Dad, all I can say is thanks for the memories. That's all I have of you. I think of you every day of my life. Your daughter, Barbara. This is the story of Joe Rafool. I hope this is sufficient. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to tell the story about my father. There's still a lot more I could go into, but I think you get the message. Again, thank you for listening, and thank you for putting it into the Historical Society. I also failed to mention that Dad got the highest award from the Rotary Club a month before he died. He got the Paul Harris Award. He had raised $150,000 for the Epilepsy Foundation, and the Rotary Club sponsored it. Thank you.